I'm tired of Marvel Comics. They need to stop pulling this shit. I remember the Hunt for Wolverine with no Wolverine. I remember the Trial of Magneto with essentially no Magneto. And here we are with the Resurrection of Magneto, which is not a Magneto book. It's a Storm book.
The Trial of Magneto had neither Magneto or a trial. It was a double bait and switch. At least in Hunt for Wolverine, there was a hunt, but there was still no Wolverine. And in this time, it is Storm, and there might be a resurrection by the time we're done. But honestly, I'm not even fucking holding my breath on that. I know that this book was written by Al Ewing, but I feel like he's doing his best Cy Spurrier impression here, because it was mostly gibberish and a bunch of attempts to make it seem like Al Ewing is smarter than he actually is.
I will admit I'm not smart enough to understand this. I'm not really sure what goes on, but we will discuss it, Doc. Getting into it, the Storm that we meet is a little bit different. Apparently, she and the Brotherhood of Mutants defeated all the Araco mutants, and she's in a relationship with a guy named Ryan or something. He's not a mutant. I don't know why he's on Mars, but he's her king or whatever, and this is the only place that she gets to be herself. But she has a dream, and she sees Magneto with 5 helmets underneath him and realizes she needs to die to go bring Magneto back because the 5 aren't around. And I'm going, okay.
It's some random guy named Craig that she's banging. They've turned Storm full Mary Jane. You have the least interesting man on the planet. Then they have 2 random children she never gave birth to. Okay, and then she just goes to the Blue Marvel. Make me a gate into a different plane of existence that is actually the death realm.
They don't call it like the afterlife or purgatory. I think they just call it like
the waiting room.
The waiting room, yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing in Trial of Magneto that was not about a trial or Magneto. That was the big outcome with the place that Scarlet Witch created that they hung out in until they got resurrected. You know, and they make an excuse of, well, it's a little bit of extra technology from the Blue Marvel, plus this is a especially magic seed. Look, they're going through every convoluted, messy ass fucking way to do this and try to explain it. And it feels like the more they try to explain the actual mechanics of how a gateway into the afterlife would work, the more I don't buy it.
And all the stuff that happens after that is very, very abstract. Initially, she runs into Tarn the Uncaring. He was like the villain in Hellions. And then I think he became the villain in X-Men Red.
Yep.
And they had like their own council or whatever. He was trying to unseat Aurora or whatever. And he's magic, and this place is magic, and there are no restrictions on the magic, and she wants to know where all the other mutant souls went. And then he's like, well, I'm magic, and I don't like you, and becomes an enormous monster. And then she just electrocutes him, and her electricity powers overrides his magic in the magic realm.
Aurora's power in this is plot magic. The noumenal world that we live in, those things now can work on magic things in the magic place. This makes about as much sense as, oh, fuck it, we don't understand magic either. We're just going to kind of throw shit in there, but we can't let Storm actually struggle. So instead, we have to have this guy like blow himself up like a fucking pufferfish so that she can very easily and quickly dispatch him with a power that shouldn't actually work in the place she's at.
It's kind of strange because Tarn the Uncaring was almost unbeatable the last times that we've seen him. It was a shock that he lost to begin with. And here she just, fuck it, you're done.
So the last time we saw him, he basically ripped her apart and entirely rewrote her DNA, turned her into a fucking monster. Apparently that was his power on Earth. But in the magic place, even though he's magic, apparently he can only affect his own physical form. He can't mutate other people in mutant heaven. Again, make it fucking make sense, because this shit doesn't. Then
so that was a lot of gobbledygook and a big time letdown. Of course, the only person that really could stand up to Storm probably is Storm. So yeah. I guess the next person she runs into is like an ancient ancestor that might have been introduced relatively recently.
It is. She was introduced in one of those Chris Claremont, the Gambit miniseries that he did where teenage de-aged Storm was running around playing thief with the newly introduced Gambit. This character had been introduced in that miniseries. What was that, maybe 2-3 years ago? That character has not been seen since. I thought it was Chris Claremont getting kind of up his own ass again.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Ashaki is supposed to be here. I guess she's another obstacle where Storm wants some information. She wants to know where Magneto went, and she does kind of give that to her. Like, there's 2 paths. There's one to death, and there's one to a tower. And she's always talking about symbols and metaphors. This is all symbols and metaphors. And then she finally asks her, is he your true friend?
I took this page as a little bit more Storm being conflicted as to whether or not he was her friend, because the first panel was one when he did go too far and almost killed Kitty when she was a teenager. And I think this was done to illustrate that Storm has a love-hate relationship with Magneto, where even at the best of times, he's more of a casual acquaintance and ally, and he's never really a friend, but occasionally he's an enemy. That was the interpretation I got out of this page. But I think it was meant to imply that, well, their relationship is complicated. And so he's not really a true friend, but maybe having an ultra complicated relationship with somebody is what makes them a true friend.
But why would she think that's who he is? Because he's never really been that.
I have no fucking clue. Or maybe this is a weird admission that she's acknowledging, hey, by the way, this whole Krakoa and Arakko thing, yeah, it's just Magneto's dream with Xavier in charge, so maybe we should put Magneto in charge because it's his dream anyways.
Exactly. I just thought it was really strange. And then she goes to the tower. The tower crumbles beneath her feet, and then she falls into the Phalanx. It almost felt like if you watch Deep Space Nine, where the commander of the space station, when he goes into the wormhole and he talks to the aliens, they're like, you're Lydia, we are not. You are Lydia, we are not. And she just has this really weird conversation with the Phalanx, tries to electrocute the Phalanx, somehow doesn't seem to affect it. And then they let it be known that they did have Magneto pass through them. They inspected him, but they didn't want to absorb him into the Phalanx or the Dominion because he wasn't interesting enough. But she's very interesting, and they would like to eat her up.
This is basically the first time they've even bothered to touch on a Phalanx connection, other than establish that the Phalanx is a Dominion and everyone else wants to become a Dominion. She talks to them. They talk in the most annoying version of that Warlock speak. It's us/we/something. And then it's like they're saying 5 different sentences at once and you have to parse them all out. I don't even bother. So they just decide, we want to eat Storm because she has power. I guess
Magneto's got a bigger power, though.
both of them are Omega level mutants. His power is essentially all of magnetism, considering that they are that Dominions are a giant black hole. The ability to control magnetism and gravity would probably be really fucking useful to entities that exist within a black hole. But apparently, it's only what's in their minds and hearts rather than what's in their power set. Oh, well, actually, you know what? Hold on. Maybe the Phalanx just likes hot women.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the hot chicks, but I just think this part is weird. When has she ever had a contact or anything to do with the Phalanx? Like, why is it here?
Well, actually, she was the first member of the X-Men that the Phalanx did come in contact with way back in like Uncanny X-Men, I don't know, like 312 or something like that. Her and Yukio. So technically she has a history with them, but it's very fucking loose. But now they're going to take one of the biggest ones and just kind of be like, nah, we don't want that one, but we want this other one. Horse shit.
So I think this all leads us to her actually arriving in hell, I think, because we do see Magneto in some type of like a lava stream or something, and she's looking at some type of dark castle with a lava river, and she's finally found wherever it is that he went to, so she can physically grab him out of the metaphysical constructs of death.
This is on par with Jason Aaron's Amazing Avengers, where Nightcrawler just bamfs himself out of heaven and back to Earth. I feel like that was less of a waste of time than this. you have the same image of her with the back turned to the thing and 5 of her crowns laying on the ground around her. And they kept talking about earlier in the book how 5 is the number of judgment. Did fucking Tinny Howard write this comic book too? Because it seems like some tarot card bullshit.
You know that she's going to be judged to be perfect.
Oh yeah, she's absolutely going to be judged to be perfect, but there's 5 of her crowns laying on the ground, and it's a callback to that dream she had, except for this time she's in the position Magneto was, and Magneto's crawling through the lava, and maybe that's like the river Styx that takes him to permanent death. You know what? I have this weird feeling it's going to connect back to that stupid tower that they had on fucking Araco from way back in the beginning of like X-Men Red, when that Fisher King guy, the fisherman, was just like hanging out with Magneto. I feel like it's going to connect back to that bullshit somehow. And honestly, I don't think I give a fuck.
I'm right there with you, Doc. I did hear this described as a character-defining issue for Storm. I would disagree with that one. It felt like a whole lot of gobbledygook, not a whole lot of sense being made through this. And it's certainly not about Magneto yet. Certainly it's implied in there. But I am absolutely tired of throwing big name characters on the title to never really actually see them. And Storm's a big enough character where you can probably name a title after and it'll do fine.
The same people talking about this being a character defining story for Storm. Remember, these are the same people that also said that one issue that Vita wrote of
Ten of Swords,
in Ten of Swords, where she basically just robbed her ex-husband.
Almost murdered his sister and beat his mom up. Yeah.
Yeah. And they called that the best solo Storm story ever written. I don't think any of these people actually know who Storm is. I am absolutely not recommending this bullshit.
Man, I thought you were going to like it because I was certain that there was some stuff that I just missed.
No.
Like in the margins here.
I mean, look, again, I have never claimed to be the smartest person on the planet. This was incomprehensible gobbledygook.
I would agree on that one. So I'm not going to recommend that either. I felt that was a very frustrating read. We will not be revisiting that comic book series, Doc. But what we will be doing is continuing on our adventure, because tomorrow, for 2 hours, you and I are going to be doing the Q&A session, questions from the patrons, everything from comics, movies, TVs, life, love, history, all that kind of stuff. If you want to know Doc's real thoughts, that's the only place to get them, exclusive to the Patreon, buddy.
Absolutely. And at least my thoughts, whenever they come out on Patreon, are somehow a little bit more coherent than this book.